Okay, we're gonna go get started. So, again, for you who just came in, my name is Christina Espiritu. I am one of the procurement specialists for PACE, which is Pacific Asian Consortium and Employment. And we are on our first series of our Procurement Masterclass. This will be a series of four. So you're on the first one. So welcome, welcome everyone. Excuse me. Just a couple of housekeeping items. You are in listening mode. If you will have any questions, please raise your hand icon if you'd like to unmute and ask questions. You can also use the chat function. So feel free to use the chat function, as many of you are doing, and then also the Q&A. But I'm doing it by myself, so I don't have someone manning the chat or the Q&A. So bear with me if I'm a little slow in answering your question or if I don't see it. We'll have a little bit of Q&A session, a little bit towards the end, about 10 minutes, and then we are going to be recording this webinar. So please visit our e-library on our website that I'll show later, and then please complete our survey once the webinar ends. And then, as I was saying earlier, feel free to put your name, and some of you are doing that already. So put your name, your business, and then also the industry that you're in on the chat. We get a lot of people from different industries, so I'm always very curious about where people are coming from. But it seems like we have a lot of people from different sectors, both products and services. Let me see. Yes. So yeah, please keep on introducing yourself on the chat. And just a little bit about PACE. Some of you may know about PACE already because you've attended other webinars, and some of you may be coming here for the first time, but just a little bit about what PACE is. So Pacific Asian Consortium and Employment. And what we do is we do a few different things, such as one-on-one consulting. So which means if you need any needs in marketing assessment, business plan development, any legal considerations, we don't provide the legal help, but we can give you a little bit of information on where you can get legal resources. And then also, yeah, site location and lease negotiation. We also have small business financing. So we are a CDFI, we are a Community Development Financial Institution, which means we are like a bank, except we don't do the retail part like savings and checking, but we do provide the loan and the lending. And then we have SBA, both SBA and non-SBA loans. And right now, if for any of you that are in the green business industry, we also have loans specifically for green businesses. We also help with just a little bit of financing. And then I also do a grant webinar every month. So some of you may have attended it. I do a grant webinar as part of our whole series on access to capital. We work with entrepreneur training programs. So really, if you're in the startup phase, it helps with really starting your business from the very beginning, making sure you start it correctly from the beginning. We also have different business courses such as entrepreneurial and accessing the capital workshops, fiscal management, e-commerce, and then other green business and clean tech transitions. And we also work with PACE has been around since the 1970s, and we have about 400 people. And part of the department that we have is also in workforce development. So if you need any outplacement services, retention strategies, and employee skills training, that's something that we can refer to that department if that's something that you're interested in. And then I am specifically part of the MBDA program. So the MBDA program is a Minority Business Development Agency business center in LA, which is partially operated by the Department of Commerce. So what we do is we help with three things: providing access to capital, so connecting you to private lenders, banks, and investors; providing access to contracts, which is assisting with contract procurement opportunities, which is what we're doing right now. This is what specifically our webinar is for; and then providing access to markets. So there's some MBDA programs that also position you to expand your client base and then operations to global markets. So there's actually a trade center or a trade portion of MBDA that I can connect you to if that's something that you're interested in. Okay. And just before I go to the table of contents, I want to visit the chat, making sure that you guys don't have any questions yet. But yeah, so I see a lot of familiar faces. So thank you so much for attending. And the ones that are partners for this, we have a few different partners. For this webinar, I am going to introduce you later. So if you're here, so I'd like to give you a little bit of information later on who are partners that made this webinar possible as well. Okay, let me see. Let's make sure. Okay, perfect. So these are just a table of contents. A few things that we're going to talk about is the overview of procurement. B, what is contract ready? Is your business ready to be contracted, right? Are you ready to go into procurement, or do you need a few additional steps in order for you to even be worth it, for you to make it worth it for you to actually even pursue government contracts? And then the key steps in procurement, some procurement terms that you'll occasionally, or actually you'll frequently come across when you start delving into government contracting, and then just a few different business practices. Okay. Yeah, as I said, if you have any questions, feel free to put things on the chat and then on the Q&A or contact me later on. Okay. So just a little bit of overview on procurement. So it's such a buzzword, right? People are saying, "Oh my gosh, I want to go do procurement. I want to do contracting." And there are two types of contracting actually. There's government contracting and then also private sector contracting. But what is really procurement? But procurement is very simple. It just refers to the process of acquiring goods, services, or works from external sources. So you're often in a competitive bidding process, right? So in the context of government, procurement is just basically the government buying products or services from people like us or people like you and I, who are small business owners. So what they ensure that public funds are spent efficiently and transparently while meeting legal and regulatory requirements. And then procurement actually occurs in different levels of government. So basically, once you'll find out, and this is an intro to procurement, and we'll delve deep into procurement in different levels. But just to give you an example, government procurement is in all different levels. So it's all the way from your city, your local county, state of California, and then also federal. So there are different levels of procurement because every level of government purchases something, right? So they purchase whether goods or services. It's something that they acquire. So poll number one, I just wanted to see what the audience is thinking. Have you had any experience with government procurement? So I see specifically government procurement, but if you also have experience with procurement in the private sector, such as, let's say, banks or hospitals, healthcare facilities, or Disney or Target, anything like that, please feel free to put in the chat because I'm curious about what types of experiences that our audience has. This is yes. Okay, so it seems like let's see. No experience. A few of you have no experience, which is great. That's why you're here, right? Some of you have mentioned certifications. That's something we'll delve deep on. Acting. Yes. Okay, great. Says you, some of them, I think you said, yes, we talked about a partner acting as I guess you are a subcontractor and you have a prime that you're working under. Okay, so you had courses. We have no idea. Okay. I like this one. You have no idea how we'll get through government. Okay, we'll figure out a way, right? We'll make it a little bit easier for you. Two emergency contracts awarded competing innovation looking for private public. Okay, perfect. Um, yes, and staffing. Okay, great. So yes, exactly. So there's some industries that are, I would say a little bit easier, a little bit more common. To get government contracts. So, for example, staffing is one that I've seen quite often, like recently. But we know what happens though is that it's kind of like in a cycle right now because the LA, in California, I'm sure most of you are in California, in Southern California, since we are preparing for the Olympics in 4 years, there are a lot of government procurement opportunities that are happening in LA. In fact, there was one on sports and entertainment event that we had held last week along with the mayor of Los Angeles. So there are a lot of different opportunities. But later on, as we go through this series of webinars, I want to give you the information and the resources to go through them. Okay, but thank you. Yes. Okay, great. Okay, yes. So it seems like it's a little bit varied. So some of you have had experience with like with procurement, some of you haven't. Some of you have heard of it, some of you have taken classes, but I think the consensus is that there are you're all in different stages. So the first thing is one thing I always when I'm dealing with a client, the first thing I ask and they tell me, okay, I want to go get a contract and then I want to go and do procurement. So I said, okay, first question that I ask is, do you think your business is contract ready? And what does that mean? Okay. So basically, a contract ready business is one that is prepared, equipped, and possesses the financial stability to bid and then maintain the products or service contracts with either with the type of entity that you want to procure with, right? So whether it's a government, different levels of government, different utility companies. So we work with procurement opportunities with SoCal Edison or SoCal Gas, the Metropolitan Water District. So we work with those ones as well, and then also commercial entities. So if you are prepared and equipped, and you possess the financial stability to bid upon, because what happens is that when you get a contract, the payment terms are, they could be either 60 or 90 days. So, or 30 days, 30, 60 or 90 days. So you want to make sure that you have enough cash flow to actually float yourself, or if you have any employees to pay for their salaries, right, before you get paid by the government. And then the contractor is there are really three types of categories or four different types. So you're either a prime contractor, so we call it tier one. You're a subcontractor or you have other subcontractors under you, right? So then I just want question on the chat. I think some of you have, I think maybe one or two have been a subcontractor to a prime, right? I think one of you had. Yes, okay. So someone had said that you're currently a subcontractor to FEMA. Okay. Um, Great. Yeah, so basically there are different tiers based on how the size of the contract. So if the contract is big, then if you are not ready to be a prime contractor, then you could be a subcontractor, or you can even go a little bit lower than that and be the vendor, right? So the things that you look for is making sure the size of the contract, and then also who the competition is when you're looking at the contract. And later on, we'll delve deep into that one. And then also, the other ways to make sure that your business is contract ready is that this is going to be, a little bit more basic, but whether your business offers a high quality product or service, right? And then you have the different website and marketing materials that shows your business's value proposition. You have developed a robust capability statement, and that's one thing we'll talk about later. But essentially, just to give you a preview, a capability statement is essentially a resume for your business. So if you think of it as like if you are going for an interview, you have a resume for your potential employer. Then a capability statement is a business resume for your potential customer. And then I think this is on the second the second session where we'll talk about capability statements. The fourth one is, can you demonstrate your company's ability to fulfill the contracts? And that's really part of the past performance, right? If you're dealing with either a prime or a subprime, do you have the past performance to show that you have fulfilled similar or fairly comparable contracts in the past? Whether you possess the required small business certifications, and we'll talk more about certifications, how to get them, when to get them, and also which ones would be best fit for you. So that would be, I think, in the fourth session. But just a little bit of a preview. Not everyone has to get a certification. So whether it's a small business certification, a demographic sort of certification, veteran owned, women owned, minority owned. It's not, I would say it's not required that you have the certification, although it is essential in some aspects. Although some of them do require that you have a small business certification, but not all of them. The other one is, have you registered your business on the major vendor portals, which we'll talk about in one of the sessions as well. We'll talk about what vendor portals are out there based on the level of government and also the utilities. And then, have you participated in contractor development programs? So this one is a little bit more essential for those who are in construction. There are some programs that are put on by major construction firms that will essentially train you to bid for their contracts. So I always say that if they have one, then it's in your best interest to actually apply and then do their development programs. Because you also, aside from learning more about it, you can also get more contact and network to the ones that are actually handling the procurement process. And then other one is, have you met primes and government procurement officers? Do you possess a comprehensive subcontractor network? If you're a prime, right? Or even if you're a subcontractor, do you know of other subcontractors that may be good for you to network with? And then lastly is researching business prospects as a best business practice. So some of them are, this is just a little bit of an overview in the beginning, but later on we'll delve deeper on what what many of this mean. Okay, and then right now I'm just gonna stop on some of the questions. How do I find contractors who offer development programs? So Arlene, I just wanted to do follow up. What kind of industry are you in, right? So let me know, and then I can, I can tell you a little bit about what development programs that I know. Does this course have any relevance, to veteran-founded nonprofit organizations? So essentially, this is procurement for-profit businesses. However, if you are a nonprofit, but if you are looking for certifications, that's one thing you may want to attend in a later session. However, still reach out to me because depending on what your needs are as a nonprofit, I may be able to help you with something. Okay. Let me see. Okay. So let's proceed. So question is, for those of you who've seen what contract ready means, what can you do to make your business more contract ready, right? So right now, just thinking about where you are right now at this moment in time, what can you do? What one thing can you do to make your business even more contract ready? So if you want to chime in on the chat, yeah, so it says, in the past, we have contracted directly with cities or facilities and under a prime contractor. Got it. Okay. Yes, so certain development programs, the ones that I know of are mostly in construction. However, there may be some for in the energy sector, and then healthcare. So just let me know later on, so then I know specifically what industry you're in. Okay. Yes, so feel free to chime in. What can you do right now to make your business contract ready, right? In order to make you prime to look at these procurement programs. Okay. Yes, so said to contact yes, later on you can contact me for more information. I'll send you my information. Okay, so now that we said, okay, oops. Okay, there you go. So now that you know, we've talked about procurement, what it is. We've spoken about what can you do in order to ascertain whether your business is contract ready. And now we'll just quickly go through what are the key steps in procurement. Now, just a reminder that this is more of an overview, but later on, I just wanted to give you a bigger and a clearer picture, like an overall picture of what procurement is and the whole process. And then like later on in the next couple of sessions, that's when we'll delve deeper into some of the steps. So first is the research, right? So where do you even research and look for proposals? So there are different research opportunities that you can look at. A is identifying government procurement opportunities that are relevant to your products and services. And those can be depending on the level of government, right? So for example, in LA, they have something called RAMP LA. For something in California, there's something called Cal eProcure. And then in the federal, for those who are looking for federal opportunities, sam.gov is something that, that is really essential for you to look at. But first, first step is okay, researching for proposals. So whether you're doing it online or you're or like or maybe doing it offline by going to some of the events. So for example, for those of you who are interested in construction, tomorrow is there's an event in LA at the Natural History Museum on construction because this week is Construction Inclusion Week. So if you want information on that one, just remind me and I will tell you about it later on. So A, researching opportunities, and B, identifying the key contacts. So making sure you build relationships with procurement officials and then decision makers. So that's why it's important to go not just online and then also going offline to some of these in-person networking events. So that's the first step, right? Searching for proposals. And as I mentioned before, this is more of an overview. Later on, we will delve much deeper onto where to look for these proposals. Second one is you've seen the proposal. Now what do? Now you register. Now you're prepared to bid, right? So first thing you do is you register your business. So making sure that your business is registered in those government databases, which I've talked about in the cities, county, state, or federal level. So let's say you're looking at RAMP LA and you found it, and then you say, okay, you're looking for keywords, you found an opportunity that would be really good for you. So I'm just gonna look at the staffing, for example. I know one of you is in staffing, so you find an opportunity that's in staffing. So A, you register your business to that pertinent database. B, you obtain whatever necessary certifications. So acquiring relevant certifications, whether it's a minority-owned, women-owned, or a small business-owned or veteran-owned, that may enhance your eligibility. And we'll talk about it later on, the different types of certification. But in general, what certifications do is that while it doesn't give you let's say, well, the way that the bids are prepared or the proposals are prepared, they are actually graded on, let's say, 100%, right? So then you get 25, let's say you're at 95%, and then you have a competitor that's at 96%. So then if you have a certification, yes, I always consider it as an extra credit. So the certification may give you that necessary bump in order to get extra credit. However, if you are at 95% or 90, let's say you're at 80%, but then your competitor is at 95%. So you're like essentially at a B or B plus, and your competitor is at an A. So a certification necessarily won't bump you that much in order to get the certification. However, as I said, I consider it almost like an extra credit if you're very close to your competitor, right? And then the third one is before you're preparing to bid, creating a capability statement. And as I said, a capability statement is a business resume. So it's a resume that is very, very similar to your personal, like or an employee resume. And what that does is that some bids actually require that you put your capability statement if it's online. However, if it's online and you're at a networking event, it's almost like giving out this is basically giving out your resume, right? Giving resume to your potential employer, and you have a one pager that you can give out with with your skills, relevant information, and past performance. So, and then as also you're preparing to bid, is reviewing the procurement documents. Thoroughly read the RFP, the request for proposals, or the request for qualifications, and then to understand its requirements, deadlines, and then also the evaluation criteria. So as I said, as we're going through this is just the key steps. First is, as I said, you search for proposals, you prepare to bid. Then the third one is this one is not something that happens all the time. So attending pre-bid meetings. So essentially, once you look at an opportunity, let's say you find one in staffing, And then what you will see is that there is a proposal, but then there are also some meetings that you can attend. So you can ask questions because once you read the proposal, the meetings are there if you have any questions on a term or a deadline or anything like that. So some of them are not mandatory. However, some pre-bid meetings are. And so you have to make sure that that is something that you take note. Because, for example, um, just just like an hour ago, I had a client who missed a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and and it's mandatory, so he can't actually bid in the proposal, and and it's something that they check, like the procurement officers will check. So if you didn't attend a mandatory meeting, then you're essentially disqualified. But yes, participate in any pre-bid conferences to clarify question and network with other bidders and procurement officials. Because most of the time it will show you who the other bidders are. And so, for example, if you are a subprime looking for a prime or a prime looking for subprime, you can essentially look at who's attending the bidders, who are the other bidders are. And yeah, and then you can essentially network and see if there are some potential partners that you would like to collaborate with. So now you've gone through the hoops and then you've actually are into submitting the proposal. So making sure that you gather the supporting documents, preparing all the necessary documents, such as the financial statements, references, and proof of insurance. Following the submission guidelines, submitting your proposal according to the specific method that comes. So whether it's online, you do it on portal, you do an email or mail, hopefully not mail. I don't think I've seen one where you have to submit by mail in a very long time. And also the deadline. And then also, if possible, confirm the receipt that your submission was received. So maybe this is um yeah, maybe for email, you have like a read receipt or like a portal, you'll be able to see whether it was submitted and also online. So you just as much as possible, just gather the proof that you've actually submitted. Okay, and so with this said, I am just gonna um, look at the questions really quick and then see. Okay. Yes, so it says at what point do we give our capability statement and where? So there are different types. So some of the capability statements it's required when you do a submission on a proposal. So it will say, okay, you have to submit this in a one pager. And also capability statement, you turn it in, or you can have it handy with you when you're going to an actual live networking event. So then you have, or even a matchmaking. So for example, ABAOC, the Asian Business Association, Orange County, held a matchmaking event about a month ago, right? So then they had people who are in procurement that you can give your capability statements to. Just one point, is it suitable for an agency that offers content creation, market research, and go to marketing? Okay, so I think what you're asking is that are there RFPs on content creation and marketing? And if that is your question, I would say yes. Surprisingly enough, a lot of the ones that I have seen recently are in a couple of different areas, the proposals. They are in marketing, they're in staffing and recruiting, and then also in IT. So a lot of service related proposals. And then also, of course, construction and engineering that always, that's like the bread and butter, but I have seen a lot of services pop up as well. Okay. And then let me see. Yes, okay. And then I think someone had asked, how do I search for sound healing? So what you're looking for later on is, and then we'll cover it in greater detail at the third session, I believe, is that how do you get how do you actually search, right? So yeah, so essentially you can search different ways. You can search by a code, like in the industry code, and or you can research by keyword. And then if your keyword is something that's a little bit more specific, like sound healing, right? They may not necessarily put that, but if you broaden it up and maybe put health and wellness or mental health or even therapy, that's something that may include that one without specifically mentioning that keyword. So you just have to a lot of times it's all about just researching the keyword and then also a little bit being a little bit more flexible with it. And then the last part is that responding to follow-ups. So once you had prepared, so once you've done this, once you've submitted the proposal, now you're responding to follow-ups. So if you are, for example, we had a client that was on the short list, right? So then I think he was in a group of 30, and then he became part of a short list for four. And then part of the question was like, what is the best and final price that you can offer? And so one thing is he had to prepare some responses to the questions. So make sure you're ready to answer any follow-up questions or provide additional information as required during the evaluation process. So making sure that, even if it's, oh, can you clarify? And I've seen many, many different follow-ups, which is good, right? If they have any questions, they just don't, check your proposal and then they actually ask you questions for clarification. So for example, they've had qualifications questions on certifications or qualifications or price. Like as I mentioned, the question I got was what would be your best and final offer on the price, right? So I think what happened with that one was that the price was in it was very competitive or very close to each other. And then last part is that, which is the most important part, I think. So would be managing the contract. Because once you've actually, let's say you do receive the contract, so yeah, congratulations. You receive the notification that you were awarded the contract. So now what you want to do is you review the award notification and any other additional documentation that's required. So some additional requirements may be some sort of insurance or maybe additional requirements on the people who are going to be working on your project, right? There are different types of other notification and follow-ups. And also negotiating terms. So if applicable, there may be some wiggle room to negotiate contract terms to ensure that there's clarity and mutual agreement both parties, whether you're negotiating terms and they're also negotiating terms, but you want to make sure that the contract that you have is actually what you're looking for, that is exactly what, when you read it, it's to your specification. And then the third one is fulfilling the obligations. So you're executing the contract as agreed and then maintaining the quality and adherence to timeline. And then also maintaining the communication, keeping open lines of communication with the contracting officers for updates or any other issues that may arise. And something here that I actually do want to mention is something called insurance or bonding. So for example, if you're in construction, they will require that you do some type of bonding, right? Or some sort of insurance. And so this is something that I think a lot of business owners may not necessarily think about. But this is something that is a lot of times a requirement, depending on the industry that you're in. So let's say you're in construction or in a related field, you get the contract, and then you are now able to, now they ask for bonds. So we actually work with a lot of companies that will help you with the bonds. So just something to keep in mind because some industries will actually require that. Okay, so with that said, I'm just gonna go and pop on the chat and see. Oh, okay, good question. How can you see who won past bids? That is an excellent question. Because when you look at, let's say for Ramp LA, you let's say you're looking for proposals. So there's an ability for you to look at proposals that are current. There's some also that are future, right? Like the ones that may happen in the future that they're preparing for, but there's also an ability for you to look at past ones, past proposals. So when there's a past proposal, a lot of times, not all the time, is they will tell you who won the past bids. But that's it. That's an excellent question because what happens is once you know, let's say you're bidding something on staffing, right? Like a current one. But then you saw that this staffing proposal also happened a year or 2 years ago. And then you can see who bid on it and then who won it. So the good thing about it is that if you know who won it, you can contact them if they're the prime and you're subprime. You say, hey, you know what? I am this. I'm happy to and ready to be a subcontractor, and so in future instances, this is something that you want to keep me in mind for. Yeah, but yeah, so it's also, and then also some of them you can acquire the winning proposal. So then you can actually look at you can actually check what they're looking for. But that's an excellent question. Question, do we help businesses become certified? Yes, yes. And I forgot to ask that all our services are actually free of charge. So whether it's doing I should have told you guys this before, but because the projects that we have or the programs that we are under are funded by grants from the government. So we offer this free of charge for business owners because your taxes had paid for this. Um, yes, yeah. So if you wanted to help with certification, yes, reach out to me later and I will give you my information after this. But excellent question. So let me just address one more question. Yes. So we need help in obtaining funds to fund payroll for contracts. Can you recommend people to discuss this? Yes. So I will talk to you later about it. But you may need some, maybe like a working capital loan or a line of credit. But yeah, I'll open it for more questions later on, and then remind me that you had that question. Okay. So now that we just have a clear overview of the procurement process, I just wanted to give you a little bit of uh, terms, like the procurement terms that you'll encounter, and then what they mean, right? So some of the procurement terms, this is probably very common. You've heard RFP. So an RFP is just a request for proposal. So it's just a document that's soliciting proposals from potential vendors to provide goods or services, outlining the project requirements and evaluation criteria. And then I'm sure, raise your hands on the chat, see if you've seen a request for proposal, because some of them can be as lengthy as 60 pages. But don't get daunted, because a lot of times once you've seen one, you'll easily recognize what the portions of it are. So then, because there's some sort of rhyme or reason to it. And so you'll see that a lot of the 60 pages are essentially the same as another RFP. So it's not like, so you'll be able to, kind of grasp and then put the context behind it. So it's not as, it doesn't seem so daunting. Okay, another one is called request for quotation. So a request for quotation is basically, it's a lot shorter than a request for proposal. And a request for quotation is just a document using to invite vendors to submit their price quotes. And it's often used for something that's like a lower contract, maybe something that's 20 or 30,000, even 50,000. And then it's just, they're just saying, oh, okay, we need this, we need, I don't know, pencils or office supplies or anything like that. What is your quotation? Actually, a better example that I can give you, because something recent that I had seen, was a request for quotation for laundry services. So we had a client who was a laundromat and provided yeah, like laundry services. So I'd seen a request for quotation, and this was for some of the bases, I think army military bases. So then she had to put down the quotation for each type of item. So like what would a shirt cost, or like a shirt, a pair of pants. So that one is very, it's a lot simpler than a proposal. And then the other one is the invitation to bid, which is a formal invitation for suppliers to submit sealed bids for a project. So this one is typically involving something that's with fixed price and specific requirements. Or maybe it's something that they've worked with someone in the past and then they're just giving them a formal invitation to bid. Okay. Some other terms, contract award, which is one thing you would like to hear that you've got the contract award, which is basically the process of selecting a vendor and formally granting them the contract to provide the goods or services after evaluating bids or proposals. And one of the most common questions I get is how long before you get notified? And I would say the best answer is it really depends. I've seen it um, maybe about a month, couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks or so, and up to a couple months. So it just really depends on the number of bids that they have gotten, and then also the manpower that they have that are reading the bids. And then the other procurement term is a bidder. So bidder is just you, a company or an individual submitting a proposal or quotation in response to an RFP, an RFQ, or an ITB. And then the other thing that you may hear is called the sole source, which is a procurement method where the contract is awarded to a single supplier without a competitive bidding process. And it's usually because they have a unique qualification or capability. So let's say you do something specifically in AI, which is, obviously like the hot industry right now. And you are, one of the few people or few companies in the US that does that. So they may offer you a sole source project. Some other procurement terms would be scope of work. And so a scope of work is basically detailing the description of the work that has to be performed under the contract, which includes what your deliverables are, what your timelines are, and your responsibilities. And then a supplier or the vendor. So a supplier is the same one as the bidder. So you're the individual or the company that provides the goods or services to the entity, right? To the government entity through a contract. And these are the things I talked about, the bonds. So there's two kinds, either a performance bond or a payment bond. So the performance bond is basically a guarantee that the contractor will fulfill the terms of the contract, protecting the government against non-performance. And then also one is a payment bond. So performance bond is protecting, so basically insurance, right? If you don't perform. And the second one is a payment bond, which is another bond, another type of guarantee that basically guarantees that the contractors, material suppliers, and subs are paid according to the contract. So basically, let's say you're a prime and then you have contracts, subcontractors, and other suppliers. So some of them the government entity that has put out the bid may require that you have a payment bond just in case you don't pay your subs and your subcontractors and your suppliers. Okay, and some other procurement terms that we have, other is called N NAICS codes or NIC codes, which is it's called the National American Industry Classification System Code. It's a mouthful, but what it is that these are codes that are based on the industry that are used to collect and analyze and publish data about the U.S. economy. And so why is that important? Because when you're looking for opportunities in Ramp LA or like SAM.gov, sometimes you can search by NICS code, right? So you have to know what your NICS code is. So if you are in staffing and healthcare, and if your NICS code, I would just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So then when you're looking for opportunities in the on the system, then you can look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So then you're able to match it. So then one thing you don't want to do is misidentify or misclassify your business. And then when you're looking for proposals, you can get the right one because you have the wrong NICS code. And then the other one is a unique entity ID, which is also kind of it's kind of like an ID, I would say, as some sort of social security equivalent to a business, which is a 12-character identifier, which is used by the federal government to identify entities and then to track how federal grant funds are spent. So basically, it's also identifying. So when you go to sam.gov, it will ask you to provide, they will give you a unique entity ID. So basically, that's your social security for your business. Okay. So before that, I am just gonna quickly look on the chat. Um, okay. Yes, yeah, exactly. Like an EIN. Although EIN is tax, so this one is specifically for procurement, for doing work with the government. Okay. Okay, so I wanted to touch this because she said that she's just joining because she was on a pre-bid RFQ for some sort of, yeah, for a project, but you don't understand where to begin because you're qualified for all these services. Yes. Well, yes. So I will be able, yeah, if you reach out to me, I can specifically talk about what you're looking for. But yeah, so great. So so someone has had, we were just talking about this. Yeah, we're talking about the process, right? The pre-bidding process and also RFQs. So I'm glad that there was a practical experience. So now best practices. I just want to quickly go by the best practices. So first, we've talked about meeting the primes, right? So meeting the actual companies that are providing the RFQs. And then also the primes that you can also partner up with as a subprime. And then two, if is building a subcontractor team. So if you are the prime and if you are looking for a subprime, then looking for those subcontractors would be something that would be good for you because and I guess let me just give you a practical example. I was working with a client that was bidding on work at the city of Long Beach for a therapist. They're looking for a whole bunch of therapists to work with them in a jail setting, in a prison setting. But but she was looking, but she's only one person, but she wanted to work with different subcontractors that she can work with as therapists. So she was looking for a team of 4 or 5, right? And so this is the third time that she's bid on a project like this. So she already had a team of subcontractors ready. But for her, it's really building up the team before you go and get the excuse me, and actually getting the proposal. So then you're not hurrying at the last minute and looking for people that may be qualified as part of your team because some proposals may require very, very specific qualifications. Yes, and then remaining contact with former contract partners, so whether it's some primes or subprimes, contacting former contract customers, and then best practice, as I said before, but not mandatory, which is getting certified. Getting certified in many different, so there are different certifications also in different levels of government. So you can get certified at the city level, the county level, the state level, federal level, and also for utilities. And then for each one of those, there may be some reciprocity. So for example, if you got the gold standard of, a federal certification through the SBA for women's certification, through the SBA, that's federal, they will, because it's such the gold standard, then you may not necessarily have to do some of the county or the state ones, right? So there's some reciprocity. And then also best practice is to, even if you're just in the early stages, is registering your company on vendor portals, and then also researching RFPs on government, utility, and commercial portals. And then the good thing with that one is that once you register, even if you're not ready, even if you think your business is not contract ready, what it enables you to do is it gives you the notifications on your industry, right? So whether you've done it by keyword or on that industry code that we talked about, but it gives you the ability to actually get notifications and then just, giving you some notification on what's going on out there, like what companies are, what government entities are looking for. So with that said, before we have a few minutes to take questions. I just wanted to introduce some of the partners that we have. So one of them, I think I had seen Noel Omega from NAFA. Let me see. Um, Noel, are you there? Okay.
Hi.
So, oh,
Yes,
there you
it's
go.
Noel.
Yes.
I'm here.
Hi, Noel. I'm just introducing the partners right now. So, so one of our partners for this is NAFA. So, Noel, if you can briefly talk about NAFA.
Yes, NAFA, we represent Filipino American community all over the United States. Although in our region, here in Greater Los Angeles, there are 6 counties, and we try to empower Filipino Americans as well as other communities to try to get the best potential avenue of information, such as partnering with PACE, in this case, Christina. So we're very happy to work with PACE and as well as our other partners here in Greater Los Angeles. So thank you, Christina, for putting this up. And I'm sure that other people would want to be joining us in the future.
Yes, thank you, Noel. And I'm sorry, I don't see the other ones, but I can briefly talk about them. So, ABAOC is also one of our partners, Asian Business Association. So, they are located primarily in Orange County, but they also are integral in helping out business owners, not just Orange County, but they recently did a business matchmaking event a couple weeks ago. So, where they partnered procurement officers and then to the businesses that were interested. So that one, and I'm sorry if I don't, yeah, if because I don't see anyone from maybe AOC. And then one of our partners is also the city of Monterey Park. Yes, so we had worked with their agency or their department that works with economic development. So thank you for being our partner. And also CMTC is a California Manufacturing Technology. And so they are a group that specifically works with manufacturing. So thank you for being our partner, and they will be speaking on the second and third session as well. And then I also wanted to talk, I think Geraldine Lawson is here. Let me see. I will. She is, there she goes. She is from FACCOC.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Christina. Hi, yes, I'm Geraldine Larson, GG for short, with Filipino American Chamber of Commerce of Orange County. And no, you do not need to be Filipino to join us. We have been partnering with the other organizations to talk a little bit more about contracting, getting certified. I think this is the fourth round of webinars that we've hosted in the last 2 years. I'm also working on creating a task force to really dig more into this and really create a program that would be very useful to you guys. And of course, we work with Christina, SBDC, and SCORE on these types of things. So you're all welcome to check us out.
Thank you. Thanks, Gigi. And then last but not the least, one of our partners is also OC Orange County Regional Consortium, which is a consortium of I would say 9 community colleges. And they also do workforce development. But the cool thing is they will talk, I think in the third session, and they will discuss what procurement opportunities are available in the community colleges. So don't miss that one, because then that's, like it's cool to just have one person telling you, oh, this is where to get the opportunities, so, and then I think we're gonna have like maybe 1 or 2 partners from their procurement department. So, but yeah, so with that said, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I was gonna still share my information. There you go. Hold on, there you go. Um, I wanted to share my information. There you go. To Okay, but in the meantime, do you guys have any questions while I reshare my information? Okay. There you go. So this is my contact information. So feel free for one-on-one consulting, if you wanted to scan this, it will just direct you to the information that we would need. And then from then on, we can go schedule something. So whether you have questions on, I know some of you have questions on certification. Yes, we can help you do the certification, capability statements. Yes, and then so what we do also is that let's say you have you saw a bid and you're like, oh my gosh, I really wanted to do this bid. We'll help you go through the but you don't understand it or it's super long, right? We can help you go through it and then break it down for you. We don't do the actual writing, but what we do is we help you review it on the back end before you submit it. Yes, I will give you a few seconds to do that, and then I will go through some of the questions. Is there some I can talk about? Yes, yeah. So some of you are asking about the certifications. Yes, and then also, as I'm gonna mention it before, everything that we do through PACE is free of charge, just because we are granted grants from different levels of government. So whether it's state of California or the federal government, to work with business owners like you. Yes, thank you for mentioning this. The bonding class with Meriwether has a program for contractors and subs to provide financing and working capital at a low interest rate. Yes, so Meriwether is one of our partners. So and then through PACE, what we have is that I think I'd mentioned it before. We have a loan program. So whether you're looking, and then the loans could be as low as like a micro loan of 2,500. But what we do is that we can help you bridge the gap, whether it's like a working capital issue or or you need like a loan, for payroll or anything like that, or a line of credit or a regular SBA or non-SBA loan. We have a whole bunch of loan counselors that can help you go through the process. Okay, so, and then I'm just going through I'm going to, okay. Yeah, so I think this is the second question. So, does this course have any relevance to nonprofit organizations? Um, I would say, not more so, because the nonprofit organizations actually, grants are different, right? So, nonprofit organizations, I would just say, if you're looking for opportunities, I would go to grants.gov, and what they have is they have different ways that you can work with the federal government. But what they do is they have an opportunity, and they will tell you, okay, who are eligible to apply to this, and it will say, an individual is eligible, a nonprofit, a 501(c)(3), or a for-profit corporation, or a government agency. So if you're a nonprofit organization, go to grants.gov. Okay, Okay, what about the availability of proposals for DEI? And if you're thinking about, let's say, because I have seen I have seen some proposals who are looking for DEI advisors. So, and they are usually, like, let's say, to do work for agencies. But yes, I have seen that type of opportunity. But this one, though, I would say it's a little bit tricky to look for keywords. So make sure that you're just, look for different keywords, right? DEI, diversity, inclusion. Just be a little bit more creative with the keywords. So if you have any questions, reach out to me, and then maybe that's something we can go together. Yes, so a lot of questions about certification, but yes, that's something we can do. Yeah, I can do it one-on-one. You can, do one-on-one with me now, or there's also a class that we're doing in the fourth session. You can use. So it says, I have an EIN that I use to do you need another? Yes. Yes. So the EIN is really for taxes. The unique identifier is for the contract. So it's separate. Okay, let's see. Well, I'm glad that you guys are very active in asking questions. So yes, yes, if some participants miss this session, yes, they can join and register for the following sessions. Yes, okay. Yes, so once you have this, I wanted to give you just a little bit more information on the upcoming webinars. So the next one we have is next week, creating capability statements. I would say don't miss this one, because this one I will give you, by the time you're done with this, you should be able to have a fairly good idea of what your capability statement should look like. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna break down what a capability statement should look like optically and visually, and then also the content. And then the other one is looking for procurement opportunities. That's the week after. Please also, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, also make sure you don't miss that one, because that one is really good. It will tell you, I will show you where to register, what different databases, right? And then the last one is introduction to certifications. I'll talk about the different certifications. on the different levels of government, also on utilities, and also for private certifications, and also what type, whether it's like small business or women or minority